Hi there, today I'm bringing you a Netflix series called Obsession. It's a four-part limited series that I just came across. By the name, I figured there would be some craziness going on in here, and I'm here for the craziness. Now, instead of one crazy person in this show, there's actually two, and maybe three, and maybe four, just because of all that's happening and people just not taking things to heart as a normal person would. So anyway, we meet William. William is a surgeon, seemed well esteemed, and at the beginning of the series, he's performing a surgery to separate a set of conjoined babies. And after the surgery, his wife's picking him up, and they're going to go away to celebrate um, the success of his surgery. And apparently, he has had a lot of good things happening lately. So anyway, they were talking about their son Jay. Jay has recently met someone. He's pretty tight-lipped about the person he's dating. However, they do know that she's older than him, and so the mom is kind of excited to find out more about him, about her, and to meet her. Anyway, the dad, because he's a well-renowned surgeon, it appears that Ingrid, the wife, her dad is in politics, parliament. This is a British show. And so they were looking for a chief of health, I believe was something like was the title, something similar to that. And so she was, he had mentioned that to William, and he was like, I don't know about that. But anyway, he was invited to a parliamentary meeting, kind of like a party, it looks like. And so when he attended the meeting, while he was there, he looked across the way and locked eyes with this lady. And she locked eyes with him, and this starts the whole obsession thing. So we find out that when they finally, she walks off and he goes after her, and then we find out that her name is Anna, and Anna is Jay's girlfriend that the family hasn't met yet. And it seems like Anna knows everything about William. He's a well-respected surgeon, of course, upper class of society. And so when I realized that she knew all this information about him, I was like, okay, maybe she wants to have an affair with him, to have something to blackmail him with, and that's where I thought the story was going to go, but not really. So anyway, after they met, somehow, and I don't know if I missed this or not, she was texting him little messages. And you would think that as a married man, he would stop it right there, and especially knowing that this is his son's girlfriend. Nope, he does not. So anyway, they had met prior to the official meeting with the family. So when the family finally met Anna, they pretended that they didn't know each other. And so we meet also the rest of the family. So William is married to his wife Ingrid, and they have their son Jay, who's in college, and then they have a teenage daughter. I believe her name was Kelly. She looks like she might be around 16 or so. So anyway, it's kind of, sexual tension between them, I guess, and the wife seems oblivious to it, and so is the son. And shortly after meeting Anna, after the official meeting, he was getting messages from her at work. And we see one of the coworkers like looking at him like, what in the world is wrong with him? He would just take off, crazy. One day he got a message from her and just took off like a bat out of hell and went to her place. Now, the place that she met with him, I was wondering like, what is this place? Does she have like, a love shack? Because it didn't really look lived in. The furniture was sparse in it. And so we find out later that it's a place that belongs to her friend who lives there part-time. So even though he's rushing over there to see her at this place, he doesn't really know much about her. And then this place doesn't seem to be her real home either. So if they're going over there for an encounter, you don't know anything about this person doesn't trust you enough to even bring it to their real house. What are we doing? This is not a red flag to you? So anyway, he rushes over there, and they just like animals and just crazy sex. There's no foreplay, there's no nothing, it's just animal sex. And I guess they both like that. And he was all happy, he leaves there smiling, and not once, it doesn't seem like he ever thought of his wife. So this over time graduated from like regular rough sex to like S&M or BDSM or whatever they call it. Just weird, crazy sex going on between the two of them. And so he pretends like nothing is happening. His wife doesn't seem to catch on to that either. And so the son, it seems as though with the son, she is allowed to keep certain things to herself. She seems to have the upper end of the power dynamic in the relationship because he can't ask her certain things. She gets to keep certain things to herself. And so he's just playing the little lapdog in a sense just to be with her. And of course, I guess I understand that because he's young, he's in college, and she's older. She works she's a civil servant, I guess. She's older. And so even at the night that they had, let me go back a little bit. So Jay was in love with Anna, and so I guess he was working up to proposing to her. So anyway, they had taken a trip to Paris, and so the wife, Ingrid, had mentioned to William about them going somewhere, and she offhandedly mentioned the hotel. Well, what do you know? William picks up himself and goes to Paris. So he's sitting in a cafe across from the hotel. He's watching or whatever. And then after a while, he calls. And I don't know, did she know that he was going to call? Because when the phone call came through to the hotel, she ran and picked the phone up. So I don't know what was going on there. So they were dressed up. Her and Jay were dressed up, and they were supposed to go to some dinner. Well, when William called and said to meet her, well, they went, she left. I don't know what reason did she give? I don't know how would happen in real life. I understand it's a movie, but if we're dressing up to go out somewhere and you just take off and I'm not allowed to come with you, isn't that weird? So anyway, she took off to meet William in an alley, and here they go, effing in the alley like two animals. And then she was like, why are you here? And then there they go at it, and then they do their thing, and she goes back to the room. He doesn't ask me. He's like, are you okay? The poor kid. I think like he's just nothing, compared to her. Like there's just no way. It's just not an even as far as, her ability to manipulate and him to be able to catch on to what she's doing. So anyway, she gets back after her encounter in the alley with William. She's like, oh, I don't feel so good and blah, blah, blah. So they never did go out. And so this trip to Paris was supposed to be a romantic and potentially a proposal. That didn't happen. And so, we see that the next morning they're leaving to go check out. What does William do? William is supposed to be in a meeting, some meeting. I thought it was in Berlin or something, supposedly. He had some excuse for where he needed to be. So after they check out, what does William do? William goes to ask for the very same room that Anna and Jay were in. Now, if this is not obsession, I don't know what is. So he goes to the room and proceeds to having this sex with this invisible woman, crazy, rough, S&M. I was just like, what the heck am I watching here? I couldn't help but laugh because I'm like, seriously, dude, you're married. You're married with a wife, and here you are having sex with air. Are you kidding me right now? But this is how obsessive this guy is. But up to this point, I still really don't know what the appeal is with this girl, because it's not like she's a supermodel and she's just so gorgeous, and I don't even know that he doesn't really know that much about her either. So you're so obsessive with this girl because of sex? Is this it? Okay. So anyway, they go back. She told him not to do that again. They had their rules or whatever. So shortly after that, Jay decided, he was going to pop the question. And I think initially that was the point of the Paris trip, but of course things didn't go as planned. So Anna had called William and said she thinks that Jay is going to ask her to marry him. And she was asking for his permission to say yes. And I'm like, why? This is weird, but I guess it's a part of their game. But what if he said no? Then what? You can't marry him? So anyway, he decided to say yes, and then she said that that wasn't going to stop them from seeing each other. As a matter of fact, they're going to see more of each other. And I was like, this is kind of the opposite of how things usually go, because now that you're married, you want to be with this person. Are you not going to cut this off with William? Nope. The whole time, the two of them have been, having this affair. And poor Jay, I feel sorry for the guy. So he's starting to sense that something is not quite right. They had the bachelor party, or what do they call it? A stag party or something. He went out to the bars and he was with his dad, and even then, the dad didn't really show any kind of remorse at all. And at the party, when they mentioned, they were talking about, how he was feeling about, the impending marriage and that he wasn't quite sure. He says, something about questions that Anna had said. And so he's like, where'd you hear that from? And he said, I think it was from a poem or something like that. But he knew that had to have been from Anna. So now he really this was his clue that something was going on potentially. And so he had followed him one day. I can't remember if it was immediately after. I don't believe it was. So he called his mom to ask where dad was. And of course, he knew where his dad was, but his dad wasn't where he was supposed to be. And so he decided to follow him, and he followed his dad to this building. He was outside, and he didn't have entry into the building. However, after he was there for a while, somebody came in, and he was able to get into the building after her. So William was in this building meeting Anna. So he was in such a rush, in such a hurry to go, FUK, that that he didn't lock the door behind them to the apartment. So he came into the building. He heard the noises and whatnot. He bust open the door, and what do you know? He finds his fiance and his dad going at it, and the poor guy couldn't handle it. He jumped over the banister and he died. I think it's a couple stories up. So of course she was in shock, and he, she seemed to have been in shock, but she just went out the building. She just left. She didn't say anything to him, and he was there. So of course, now he has to explain why he was there and how it was that, Jay ended up killing himself. So now the wife finds out that this was happening, and really, William didn't seem to care much. He was like, oh, I understand, and he didn't care. So once again, I'm just like, seriously, you just blew up your family just to have sex with Anna? And now your wife finds out and just doesn't seem like you care at all? Wow, this is heartless. What is it? And so, in my head, I'm like, there has to be some kind of psychology to people who just lose their minds in this way, where it's just, what they're doing is just not logical. But, clearly it's obsession, like the title is. But I was just like, dude, you're so brilliant. You're a surgeon. You're smart. You should be able to, do differently, or at some point make a logical decision. But nope. Even after his wife found out, and after, the son was buried, he was still trying to find Anna. He busted into her friend's place of employment to ask, where is Anna? And he ultimately tracked her down. She was on vacation somewhere. And so he was there to see her, and they proceeded back to the room. It didn't really show that they had an encounter, but he was washing her in the tub, and then they had met for breakfast. It seemed, I don't remember, was it breakfast? They were sitting down talking, and he was like, this all happened because of them, and she felt bad about it, and she said she regretted everything that had happened, and he said he didn't, and he didn't want it all to be for nothing. And she was just like, what? His own son was killed in the process, and because of them having an affair, and he didn't want it to be for waste, for nothing, and he didn't seem to care that his son died as a result of his actions. So she was like, please don't find me again. She doesn't want to have anything else to do with him, and so she leaves. So at the end of the series, we find that he is back in London, and he went to see an apartment that was for sale, but it looks pretty much like the one that Anna was meeting him in. And if you have watched this, let me know. Was that the same apartment or just in the same building? At the same time that he's meeting the realtor to see that apartment, Anna was in the place that they were meeting because she was meeting her friend there, and they left the apartment because she was saying she can't do this anymore and she didn't want to live with her mom, and then they left. So I don't know if this is supposed to be, showing that, they left the apartment and now he's buying the apartment, or if it's just an apartment in the building. So anyway, you know what? I think it might be the same apartment because after that happened, he brought out a red diary from out the fireplace, which she had one of those, and he was reading out of it. So I think maybe he went and bought that apartment, which was the same apartment in which he was meeting Anna and where Jay had found them together. Tell me this is not it. So this story, this limited series, I found it to be quite entertaining. It's supposed to be a thriller. It's semi-thriller, but some of it was kind of not really thriller-ish. It's kind of funny, some of this stuff, especially that scene in Paris. I was like, really? And then also, who just blows up their life like this for somebody that they don't really know? We don't really see where William and Anna ever really had any true heart-to-heart. It was all just sex, 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 sex. So what leads one to just blow up their lives for sex? That's what I would like to know. It'd be good to explore some kind of psychology into this to wrap this story up. But also we find that after Anna had left, that she was seeing a psychiatrist or psychologist. And, they were talking about, she wanted to talk about what had happened to her, but based on how it ended, it seemed like she was going to start something with the psychologist, and poor guy, Lord help him if he really does. But the series ended there from what is available now on Netflix. So I did enjoy this in a sense, although there were some cringy parts to this, and some of the stuff that's happened is kind of unbelievable, but definitely still worth watching. There's only 4 episodes of it, so it's pretty quick and to get through. So if you have watched this one, what do you think? It was kind of crazy, this one, but enjoyable at the same time.